Hey everyone, welcome to today's deck primer. Today we're going to take a look at something a little different. It's actually Legacy Affinity, and many people have heard of Modern Affinity, of course. It's one of the most powerful decks in the format, and Legacy Affinity plays some similar cards like Cranial Plating and Etched Champion, but it also has a lot of key differences. And many people have said that in Legacy, aggro is dead, but as far as aggro goes, I think this is a pretty strong option for Legacy. You can goldfish kills as early as turn 3. There's even the rare, very rare turn 2. So it's quite fast. It plays a lot of cards that are individually quite powerful, like Cranial Plating, Etched Champion, Thoughcast, even Tezzeret as well is quite powerful in Legacy. And one choice that I'd like to talk about in particular is 4 main deck Chalice of the Void. This is something that I think is a particularly powerful option in Legacy right now, as the format is mainly dominated by various Delver decks, even things like Miracles, Elves, Shardless Bug. All of these decks play a lot of converted mana cost 1 spells, and Chalice of the Void takes advantage of that very well. Also, Chalice for 0 can be very strong in other matchups, like Storm, and occasionally might even get to Chalice for 2. But this is one of the cards in particular that I think makes Legacy Affinity a force to be reckoned with. It's very easy to turn 1 Chalice for 1 off Ancient Tomb or Mox Opal, or yeah, it's pretty much it, just Ancient Tomb or Mox Opal plus Artifact Land and a dude. Of course, one of my philosophies when I build decks or looking to play decks is I like decks that will give you free wins, and Chalice of the Void will definitely just give you a lot of free wins. There will be certain decks where you just resolve a Chalice and the game is just over. So I really like that aspect of the deck. As far as all of the other choices, everything looks pretty much what you'd expect. You have your 4 Ornithopters, one of the best cards to wear Cranial Plating. You've got Ornithopter's buddy Memnite, 4 Mox Opals, as I mentioned, the 16 lands. Only 3 Springleaf Drum, because Chalice is mainly going to be set to 1, and I didn't really like that non-bow there. But then you've got your typical choices: 4 Vault Skirge, 4 Arcbound Ravager, 4 Cranial Plating, 4 Etched Champion. Etched Champion is quite powerful in Legacy. People often talk about True Name Nemesis and how that card for a while was dominating Legacy. Not so much anymore, but Etched Champion is basically just a True Name Nemesis. There are a few downsides, such as the fact that there are a few colorless creatures that we'll see play that can block it, like Death and Taxes plays Phyrexian Revoker, and there are a few random interactions like that. But moving on, we also have a 4 Frogmite. Frogmite is a lot more powerful in the Legacy version of this deck rather than the Modern, because you have these artifact lands here that basically tap for 2 mana, so to speak, regarding the Affinity for Artifacts ability. And then, of course, we also have a 4 Thoughcast. It's pretty much just a 1 mana draw 2. And then we have 2 Tezzeret, which is pretty powerful. The downside is it can be hard to cast, because keep in mind we only have 11 blue sources and 11 black sources, and there's some overlap. So with 8 colorless lands, Tezzeret can be a little hard to cast, but when you do cast it, it's very powerful. All of the abilities are extremely relevant. Generally, what you do with Tezzeret is you +1 it, and then next turn you -4 it and kill them. But the ability to turn something into a 5/5 artifact is also quite powerful. So that's pretty much the main deck. It's pretty straightforward. If you understand how Modern Affinity works, Legacy Affinity is quite similar. If you don't understand how it works, basically the main card is Cranial Plating as far as killing people goes. You just apply a bunch of artifacts and you put your Cranial Plating on, usually an Etched Champion, a Vault Skirge, or an Ornithopter, and you hit them with it. Arcbound Ravager is also quite powerful. In this deck we have some interesting interactions where we can say Chalice for some number and then sack our Chalice to our Ravager if we want to cast something later. For example, if we, Chalice for 0 and then later want to cast an Ornithopter or something. So yeah, basically we're just beating down with little guys wearing platings and Etched Champion and We can often go all in on Arcbound Ravager and hit them with a giant thing. Pretty straightforward stuff. The deck can be a little complicated to play, but it mostly just plays like your typical beatdown deck. And then moving on to the sideboard, the choices are a little weird, largely because we are just playing a 2-color deck. If you look at our mana base, we do have these Mox Opals and Springleaf Drum that tap for any color, but 7 sources is not really enough for me to want to put other colors in my sideboard. So I wanted cards that were either blue, black, or colorless, but I also didn't want any sideboard cards that were converted mana cost 1, because that would interact negatively with my Chalice, which is how I arrived at all these choices. We have 4 Tormod Crypts, basically just there against Dredge, but then also Reanimator and whatever other graveyard decks, like Oops All Spells, just things like that. I got 2 Karakas because I wanted something against Sneak and Show, and I think that's pretty much the best option for that matchup. Then I've got 3 Phyrexian Revokers, not necessarily against any matchups in particular, just things where you want to shut off some ability. Pretty good against like Storm decks because you can call Lion's Eye Diamond or Lotus Petal. It's also quite good against Death and Taxes, I find, because you get to name Mother of Runes, Aether Vial, Stoneforge Mystic, lots of things there. Then I've got a few random one-ofs here. A one-of Perish, mainly against Elves, but potentially good against various Delver decks that are playing a bunch of green creatures, Deathrite, Tarmogoyf, Nimble Mongoose, etc. One Dismember, just kind of a catch-all in case there's some sort of creature from my opponent that I'm having trouble dealing with. Then I've got 2 Mindbreak Traps, basically exclusively against things like Storm and Belcher, pretty much just there for the reasons you'd expect. And then I also have 2 Tezzeret against the slower control decks, things like Shardless Bug and Miracles. It's nice because it won't get hit with Counterbalance very much. They basically have to flip a Jace, and it also just doesn't die to Abrupt Decay. So against decks like that, you're playing a little more of attrition style game. So I figured for those matchups, I would want 2 more Tezzerets. So that's the deck. Hope you guys enjoy the rounds. I think it'll be really exciting. Alan Pennington with Gathering Magic, thanks for watching. Thank you all for watching. If you haven't subscribed to Gathering Magic yet, please do so by clicking on the subscribe button. Or if you just want to watch some more primers, you can check out our playlist that contains every episode. And of course, you can always watch the next video by clicking on screen or on the link in the description box. Welcome to round number 1.